Let's get some business news for you now. Kate Moody's back with us in the studio. And Kate, taking us back to the EU budget talks, agriculture is on the front line when it comes to possible cuts.
Absolutely. Back in 2018, Laura, 38% of the EU's budget went to agriculture. Now its priorities are shifting and the bloc's common agricultural policy is facing possible funding cuts. Farmers across the continent say they need subsidies more than ever. Luke Schrago reports.
What's going to happen to the budget for European agriculture? Even as the EU's 27 member states gear up for what are certain to be tumultuous finance talks, the continent's farmers want to be certain they'll still get their slice of the pie.
What we see today are severe cuts within the agricultural part of the European budget, and severe cuts in a sector which is already suffering today. We have European farmers who are in an average of 40% of the income of the average European citizen. So farmers who are already struggling.
Stretching back nearly 60 years, Europe's common agricultural policy has seen often badly needed subsidies go to farmers across the bloc. However, funding set aside could now take a major cut of tens of billions of euros. The result not just of the €75 billion hole left by the United Kingdom's departure, but changing priorities within a Europe that's seeking to make up that shortfall. Combating the climate crisis, modernising the economy, border protection and common defence, all areas that have been pulled into the foreground in recent years, and the funding has to come from somewhere. It's left already fractious discussions looking downright sour and farmers fretting.
It's fine to make agricultural policy greener, but there comes a time when in terms of farming efficiency you reach limits. Farming isn't necessarily environmentally friendly.
Member states more reliant on agriculture, such as France, Spain and Poland, have already shown determination to preserve farming subsidies. Just how much support they'll get from other quarters, however, is far less certain.
Google users in the UK will be part of the American jurisdiction rather than European now that Brexit has become official. The British government has said that for now it will still abide by the EU's GDPR privacy regulations, but Google said customers there would now be legally considered part of its main US operations rather than a separate European centre based in Ireland. The tech giant, one of the first to update its legal framework post-Brexit. Google's also updating its overall terms of service for global customers, ostensibly to make the language easier to understand. Let's check in on the day's trading action now. Wall Street's been retreating sharply from Wednesday's record highs. The tech stocks are doing among the worst performing. The Nasdaq had been down as much as 1.5% earlier, down about 0.8 now. The Dow Jones down 0.5 percentage point. Shares of Morgan Stanley have tumbled 4% as it announced a $13 billion deal to buy the online platform E-Trade. We're seeing an increase in safe haven investments this week, with gold prices hitting a 7-year high. Earlier, the major European indices closed lower. The DAX down 0.9%, the CAC 40 about 0.8%. UK retail sales picked up in January, and the FTSE 100 closed down by 1/3 percentage point. More companies are warning investors of the impact of the coronavirus outbreak. Air France-KLM says it expects a financial hit of between 150 and 200 million euros by the end of April. The carrier has suspended flights to mainland China until at least the end of March, and that deadline could be extended further. Australia's Qantas Air, meanwhile, expects a hit of around 90 million euros to its results. The airline is cutting back on flights to all of Asia due to a drop in demand. It's grounded the equivalent of about 18 planes, with staff being encouraged to take their annual leave now to reduce the cost to the company. Officials from the International Monetary Fund have arrived in Lebanon, where the economy is on the verge of a full-blown crisis. The government owes some $4 billion worth of debt payments this year, with $1.2 billion due in early March, and its currency reserves are dwindling. Lebanon's public debt to GDP ratio is among the highest in the world. The IMF has been asked not for financial aid, but for help in drawing up a plan to confront the crisis, which could involve restructuring Lebanon's debt and bringing in reforms. Our colleague Lynn Rifai has been speaking to Farid Belhaj, who's vice president of the World Bank in charge of the region. He says urgent action is needed.
Lebanon has always proven that it is a country of miracles. Of course, they can, one way or the other, find a way forward. Now, I don't know whether it is in their interests now to engage on this particular liability that is coming their way. It's going to be for the Lebanese government to determine what is best. But what we know is that the issue is not what's going to happen in a month or 2 months. The issue is the longer-term solution, and try to see whether through decisions to be made in the coming days, the decision makers of Lebanon would actually have at heart looking at the big picture and looking down the road at finding a way out of this very, very difficult time that they're going through.
And you can see more of that interview and some of the root causes of Lebanon's crisis in this week's People and Profit. That's on our website now, Laura.
It's an interesting subject. Kate, thank you very much indeed. Kate Moody there with the business. We're taking a short break. Don't go away.